When you have installed the Windows client for Safeguard, you're going to see a little icon in the taskbar, or you have an appropriate entry in your menu. We're going to start the client via the menu. When Safeguard comes up, it asks you for the IP address or for the name of the appliance. In our demonstration environment, this is our IP address. Click on Connect. And now we're going to see this usual warning of the self-site certificates we are using. If you are connecting for the first time, you're going to see the same warning because you don't have installed your own certificates. Just click on Continue, and this will take you to the main screen of Safeguard. In your client, it may look a little bit different because you have here local, and you don't see this menu here because we have already defined something that is called a directory. We're going to touch the handling of directory and directory accounts in a later video. For this demonstration, we're going to stick to local first. The only user that exists at this time at the Safeguard box is the Bootstrap administrator. The Bootstrap administrator account is named admin, and the password is available in the manual. This is the standard login screen for the Bootstrap administrator. You see here, Bootstrap administrator. And of course, I already have it customized a little bit because the logo here is a little bit different. The Bootstrap administrator is usually only used for setting up the appliance for the first time that we have already seen. So the first thing you may do now is to create a user you're going to use for the administrative task on your Safeguard appliance. To do so, click on this little icon here for the administrative tools and click on Users. To create a new user, click on this little plus sign here and start to enter your information. So we're going to stick to local here. Username like Safeguard admin. Give it a password and do not tick require secondary authentication. Click on next and enter your contact information. You may enter values here, but for this current demonstration, we're going to leave this just blank. Location, that's your time zone. In this case, we are located in Berlin, in Germany, so this is fine for us. And the most important thing we are going to switch on to is permissions. There's a role-based access control model in Safeguard already built in, and you see all these various permissions that you can assign a user. We have something that's called an authorizer, standard user, help desk user, appliance operator, and so on and so on. If you plan to make this user a Safeguard administrator, for the first shot, I would say just give it all permissions. Then you are not limited in any way. But be aware, of all permissions, you have all control for any feature on that box, of course. And now click on Add User, and that's all the required tasks you have to go through to create your user. So you now see here Safeguard admin. If you click on it, you're going to see some information that you have entered here, and now you can start to use that newly created user. Maybe just some notes on the word user. If we are talking about a user in the Safeguard wording, we're going to understand as a user somebody or something that is allowed to connect to the Safeguard appliance. Don't confuse it with accounts or something else. If we talk about users, we mean absolutely somebody who can connect to Safeguard. We're going to talk about all these things, about permissions, about accounts or assets or systems in later videos. Then we're going to see how the wording is settled in Safeguard. We now would like to show a second alternative to create a user. Instead of using a local user, Safeguard supports directory-based users for logging into Safeguard. This is a very easy and straightforward approach. So if you create a new user, follow the same approach as before. Select the plus sign to go to the dialog boxes. And instead of using local, click on your directory. You're going to see this directory only if you have configured a directory in your configuration already. But we don't cover this in this video. We're going to talk about this later because we're then going to show how a directory is used for multiple ways inside Safeguards, for instance, using privileged accounts from a directory, service accounts, and of course, user accounts. So in this case, just go to the Authentication tab and select your directory. And the username you're going to use here is something or somebody from your directory. So click on Browse and select the appropriate entries here. You can start your search at the directory root or on any other OU. You can have sub-container search included or leave it out if you uncheck the box. We just give here some character and we're going to search the whole directory for all entries or all users that live in that directory containing the character A. Here we go. So pretty much long list. Just click on one of these entries you want to choose as a user to be allowed to log into Safeguard. Click on OK and click the next button here, or just click on contact information here. It both takes you to the next screen. I just missed some important points. Let's go back to authentication. There are a couple of other checkboxes here available. So if you check, for instance, require certificate authentication, you can instruct Safeguard to check a certificate for these directory-based users. Maybe you're going to use this for smart card-based login or whatever your certificates came from, or you may have stored them in your AD already. And of course you have again this require secondary authentication checkbox that takes you to something like multi-factor authentication. Okay, let's go to next. And as you see, if you use a directory user, it will read all the required entries from your directory. So if you're using directory users, please make sure that all the fields and the attributes in your directory are set up properly and contain the required values. Okay, then you have the location, whatever, Windhoek is a nice place. And then, of course, you have to assign the permission. And it is the same as the local user. Maybe it's an operator, appliance operator, maybe it's a directory operator, and then add the user. That's it. You have created a directory-based user that is allowed to log into Safeguard. As I mentioned, we already have created a directory, and you're going to see this menu directories here. So if you have the proper rights to define directories, you're going to click on here. Or if you want to add a second directory, that is always possible, or just as many as you like. We have already created one here, irm.corp, and that's the dialog you have to fill out to create a directory. But we're going to talk about directories in detail later.